Hey guys, so in today's DIY, I'm going to show you how to make this awesome paracord bracelet that also has lettering on it. I have been making all kinds of paracord stuff with the extra paracord that I had, so I figured why not do a typical paracord but with a little twist, and the little twist is that it's basically going to say a word with beading when you look at it. So this is going to be a slightly lengthy DIY. So grab yourself a drink, get comfortable, and let's go ahead and get straight to it. For this DIY, you're going to need 2 colors of paracord, a jig, which is optional. I got mine on eBay for about $11. You'll also need clips, some letter beads, a pair of scissors, and a little flame. Any kind of flame will do. So you want to make sure that you have the same kind of clips that's attached to your jig. Like I said, I picked mine up on eBay and it was handmade. Now you want to set it to the measurement that you need your bracelet. And I pre-cut my paracord for 1 foot of paracord per inch. So the bracelet I'm making is 8.5 inches, so my paracord will be 4.5 inches each. So I find my ends on my paracord, and I want one end of each color. And as you can see here, I'm going to zoom in and I'm going to show you up close how we are going to attach these ends together. So you basically want to take your flame, whether it's a lighter or a butane lighter like I'm using, whichever one works for you, and you want to melt the ends of your paracord, and while they are still wet and hot, you want to push them together, and you want to hold them that way until they cool down and harden back up. And as they harden up, they will meld together and they won't come apart. The best way for you to test if it's ready or not is by tugging on them a little bit to make sure that they don't separate when you pull on them. Once you have that, you pick one of the colors to be the one that you use for your loop, and I chose pink for mine because I had a lot more pink than I did the black in my paracord. And I just turned that into a loop and I looped it through one part of my little clip. Now, as you can see, the joined parts are further down, but that's just how I like mine. I like my middle color to be one solid color for in case it peeks through. So I'm basically taking that looped paracord and I'm trying to make it as small as possible to loop it through the one side of my little clips there. I'm using this particular side because it's the one that's going to attach to the clip at the bottom of my jig. And that's where you want it to be. You want the bottom of your bracelet to be towards you and the top of your bracelet to be away from you. So I'm just looping those through and pulling them nice and tight so that it's nice and securely attached to that clip. And then I'm just clipping it into the other piece of the jig. And I'm going to zoom back out so that you can see this a little better, so that that loop is now towards you and the ends will be at the part that will be away from you. So then I'm going to take my other 2 ends and I'm going to loop them through the other part of this clip. And as you can see, this is no easy task. You might have to clip your paracord at an angle to get it through, and it takes a little bit of maneuvering to get it to go through and to cooperate with you. As you can see, I had quite a bit of difficulty with my pink paracord because that particular end of it just happened to be giving me some issues. So I took my scissors and I clipped it at an angle. And once I got that angle clipped, I went ahead and I burned that down as well. And I tried to make it so that it wasn't going to be so big so that it fit easily through the other end of my clip. Now, you are going to see smoking when you burn your paracord. This is perfectly normal. It's just a reaction to the flame. It's not going to catch on fire, and if it does, you can just blow it out and it should be fine. Obviously, you want to have a parent present if you're under 18 for your first time doing this. So once I get this through, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to feed both colors and both pieces of my paracord through that so that it's nice and tight. And then I'm going to clip that to the other end. Obviously, you want to make sure that that joined part of your paracord is in the middle. You don't want it to be on the other side and it's not going to fit through the other side. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom back in so you can see better, and you can see that joined part there where it's nice and it's towards the beginning or the end so that it's on the back and nobody's going to see it. So then you want to separate your two colors of paracord. You need to choose which one you want on the bottom and which one you want on top. For this particular one, I chose to have black on top. So you want to loop that across the top of your two pieces of paracord, and then loop your other color down below your two pieces of paracord. Then you want to feed that black or whatever color, first color, through the first loop, and then feed your second color up through the second loop. Just like you see me doing here, and you're going to kind of create like a noose type thing. Then you want to make sure that that's pulled nice and tight, and then you want to tighten that up. And you want to pull that nice and tight. So once you have that pulled nice and tight, we're just going to do this again. Once again, the first color over the top and the second color underneath. Feed the second color through the loop for the first color, and the first color through the loop of the second color. Then once you have that done, you want to once again pull it tight, and I like to pull extra tight on mine just to make sure that they're nice and secure and not loose. So I'm going to speed this up from here on out. We're basically just repeating this process through towards about the middle of your bracelet, and then we'll add in the letters. Now, as you can see here, as you make your bracelet, it's going to hide that conjoining part. And also, with it being towards the back of your bracelet that's going to be on the inside of your wrist, you're not going to see it that often, and nobody should be able to see it. So once you get it to about the middle of your bracelet, you want to go ahead and take your first letter, and you want to get that letter ready, and I'm using an N. And you want to go ahead and loop your first and second color through like you did normally. And then because we chose black to be our middle, I have mine cut at a nice angle. And then I'm going to try to feed that letter through. Obviously, this takes a little bit of time and pushing because the letter has just enough of a hole to get through. And I had a little bit of issues, so I tried to take my paracord and burn it down a little bit on the side so that it would fit easier, a lot easier. So once you get the first one through, go ahead and feed that letter down towards the middle and pull on that first color that you have on top. Now you may have to readjust the lettering as you pull that paracord to make sure that it's nice and tight and that the lettering is secure and where you want it. Then we're going to go ahead and make another, I'm going to call it a stitch. We're going to make another stitch underneath before we put on our next letter. So then I'm getting it ready by feeding it through and looping them up and over each other. And because we've already gotten the first letter on, the second letter should be much easier. Now, you have to put this letter on backwards so that it feeds and it goes the correct way once you feed it through. So we're going to push it through backwards, and we're just going to feed that back through, and we're going to do the same thing we did before. We're going to hold it in the middle, and we're going to tighten those paracord so that it is nice and tight and that lettering stays in the middle where it belongs. So you can see here I have my first two letters in, and I'm going to make my loop back underneath again before I do my third and fourth lettering. So I'm just going to zoom back out for this, and I'm going to go ahead and get my third letter on there, which once again I am putting on backwards and I'm feeding through. And then I'm going to make my stitch right after that, and I'm going to do the same thing for my last letter and put it on backwards so that when it goes down, it's going down the right side up so that it reads In my case, it reads nerd by the time you're finished. And then we're just going to go ahead and continue that stitch going all the way down towards the end of your bracelet. This will take some practice to get it super tight. Obviously, it takes time, and it does after a while start to hurt your fingers from pulling it so tight, but after doing a few, you will get used to it. So I'm just finishing this up towards the end of my bracelet because I want to make sure that I have those stitches all the way down to that little loop that I have at the bottom. And then I like to have no space in between, so I do one last loop right towards the end to make sure that it has nothing in between, and you want to pull that nice and tight. And once you are finished filling up your whole bracelet and you have your letters in the middle, you want to go ahead and detach it from your little jig there. If you don't have a jig, you can also attach it with some sort of a clip to something that stays stationary. So here's up close of how your end should look. And it will be stiff as a rod, but as you wear it, it does loosen up. So once I have this the way I like it, I'm just going to go ahead and take that top stitch on the back. You want to make sure you do this on the back, because if you do this on the front, everybody's going to see your end. So on the back, you take that last stitch, you loosen it up so that you can get your paracord through it. I like to feed mine through this way. I feel that they're more secure this way. You can cut it off on the ends and burn it that way, but I just feel personally that this is more secure. So I basically feed my one side through and I pull it all the way through. And then I do the same thing with the other side. And as you can see, this does require some maneuvering in order to get your paracord through. So you might have to loosen up that pink a little bit more. Well, in my case, that pink a little bit more to get the other color through. So you just have to kind of play with it a little bit, and it all depends on how tight and how loose you've pulled it out. So as you can see, I did have quite a bit of trouble getting the one color back through, but once I get it through, I just pull it tight like I did the first one. Now you're going to notice that your top stitch here is really loose. So this is where you're going to tighten it up, and you're going to kind of do this in a reverse way. And once you get it pulls really tight on that one side, you just pull it down, and you do the same thing for the black. You kind of fix it up and pull it really tight. And then I continue to work it like this until it's nice and tight and how I like it. Once I'm done with that, I'm basically going to take my scissors and cut the extra paracord off, because you most likely will have extra. Then I'm just going to take my flame and I'm going to burn the two ends of the extras that I took off. And I'm going to go ahead and place those down. And then I'm going to burn the two ends that are still attached to my bracelet. Now, as you can see, my black did leave a little bit on my jig. But that's just what happens when you lay it down. You didn't let it dry for a minute. So here is the finished product of my Nerd Paracord bracelet. And I hope you guys make your own, and I hope this helps you to learn how to make a paracord bracelet with awesome lettering on it. So I hope you guys enjoyed that DIY. Make sure to hit that subscribe button down below, and also give this video a thumbs up if you like my paracord DIYs, the short series ones that I did. Also, make sure to leave me a comment letting me know any specific DIYs or specific genres that you want to see me do in the future, as well as make sure to like me on Facebook and follow me on Instagram so that you can see all the pictures and all the fun stuff that I'm working on in between my videos. And as always, have a wonderful day, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye.